The global banking crisis, is it getting worse? Hello future investors and welcome back to another weekly episode. So this banking crisis globally going on around the world right now, it is dramatically affecting the global market with the price of fiat currency, and it's directly affecting the price of precious metals because, as we know, when there is global and economic turmoil, people flocked to gold and silver to protect their wealth and hedge against inflation. So it's a great time for the bullion dealers because they'll be making a lot of sales, therefore making a lot of profits. And in my opinion, I think it's a very good time for precious metal stackers and investors because if you've got a current holding in gold and silver, that will inadvertently increase the value of your precious metal stack and collection. Now, some people might argue that that will be a negative, that the fact that the prices of gold and silver have gone up because of the banking crisis, because it means when I now want to buy more gold and silver, I have to pay more. But as we know, most precious metal stackers are in it for the long term, of a term like 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And, in my opinion, I'm no financial advisor, but when it comes to money and the price of gold and silver, all you have to do is look at the history because gold has gone up in value by 630% in the last 20 years. Silver has not increased as much, but it has increased, being slightly more turmoil. Now, this current situation with the global banking crisis, is it something you need to be concerned about, and is it going to get any worse? Well, in my opinion, I've got to say I think it is, because when you've got a massive bank like Credit Suisse being bailed out by UBS and literally almost failing, one of the world's leading and most valuable and wealthy banks. I mean, as we know, Switzerland is one of the world's leading countries for having the best GDP and being extremely wealthy. So when a country like that has its world-leading bank nearly fail and has to be bailed out by some place like UBS, it's a big concern because there's a lot smaller banks and a lot more poorer countries out there that, if you have to look at it from a point of, if the wealthiest countries are struggling, how are the lower, countries with the less value in GDP how are they gonna deal with it? So, the crisis, in my opinion, is going worse. As we know, Credit Suisse was having trouble, and Saudi basically said, we're not going to give you a handout. The Saudi government said, we're not going to give you a handout, because essentially what they're saying by, no, we're not giving you any more money to bail you out, is we don't have any faith that your company, the bank of Credit Suisse, is worth the investment to try and bail you out, because we're looking at your stocks and shares values and they're plummeting, so we essentially don't want to chuck money in the bin. So of course, what does that do to the shares and stock holdings? It drops off massively in value because people then pull their money out of the bank like Credit Suisse, because obviously if people are seeing that their bank is having really bad financial trouble, people aren't going to keep their thousands, their millions of pounds or dollars in that bank. So what happens when people pull their money out is that it drops the value of the shareholding of that company, and then it lowers the stock value of those shares, and it's just a domino effect. Now, if you're a precious metal stacker, you don't have to worry because you've probably invested even a small amount or a large amount into gold and silver. And as we know, when there's an economic turmoil in the term of GDP and the price of fiat currency, precious metals is the safe haven that you want to have invested your money in. However, having said that, is it going to keep getting worse, this current situation with the banks? Yeah, I think it is. There's a massive sort of rumour right now of Germany's leading bank having stock drops amid fears that the banking crisis will get worse. Now, the bank is called, now I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but it's called Deutsche Bank. Their stock shares fell sharply this Friday, dragging down other major European banks because obviously such big banks are linked with other banks. So again, like I say, it has a knock-on effect. Now, Germany is one of the countries with the largest GDP. They're an extremely wealthy country. They're very smart with their businesses, and they're no fool. But when you've got a country like Germany and one of their leading banks struggling, when you've just had a bank like Credit Suisse fail, it's a concern. Now, Germany's bank the Deutsche Bank, their shares were down by 8.8% in the late afternoon trading on Friday, and on the German stock exchange, and they fell nearly as much as 14%, which is a huge drop, because you don't want your stocks and shares failing or dropping by even 0.1%, because if that does happen, that may entice investors and people who have their money in the bank to withdraw their money, and then again it's a knock-on effect. So there is a lot of rumours about this bank in Germany having some problems. So Credit Suisse troubles, including a 5.5 billion loss on dealings with their private investment funds, didn't help Credit Suisse. So is Germany the next one to have a bank fail? Hopefully not, because as we know, Germany is one of the global leaders in the European Union, in NATO, in GDP. But it's not a great time for the banks right now. Precious metals stackers and investors, however, we'd probably be laughing, because we're kind of going, I told you so, to all those people that boo-hooed gold and silver and said, what? Why are you investing your money in tangible gold and silver? Well, now you can take your time and go, this is why. Because when the value of the fiat currency drops, the precious metal value goes up. So probably most precious metal stackers at this very moment are going, why didn't I buy more? Because it's like that thing, isn't it? I've bought so many precious metals in the past, and my regret is always, why didn't I buy more? I've got things like the Una and the Lion silver bar and the James Bond No Time to Die silver bar, and I bought those because I thought they'd be desirable in the future, and I was lucky because they have become desirable. But what has happened is obviously the value of that precious metal has increased dramatically above and beyond the premiums and the premium over the spot price that the bullion dealers charge, because there's a collective desire by collectors for those specific precious metals. That's a bit like proof coins. You can buy maybe a 1 ounce proof coin for like a 1 ounce gold proof coin for maybe £2,000-3,000 from a bullion dealer, but it can be worth so much more because of the collective desire for that specific proof coin. However, it does work opposites as well. Sometimes those specific designs aren't as popular, so then they kind of stick around the spot price and the premium value that a bullion dealer might charge. But getting back to the banking crisis, is it something you need to be concerned about? Yeah, I think it is, because we all have money in bank accounts. Let's be honest. We all have, even precious metal stackers and investors, we all keep a bit of cash in the bank, don't we? Because we need it. Because the world currently does still rely on you using your credit card or your debit card or cash, which you have to withdraw out of your bank account. So, I think it should concern you when the banks are having this major trouble, and maybe you should do some research into your bank that you're with and just have a look at how secure and strong they are right now. And maybe if they're not, maybe if they're having a bit of trouble, maybe now would be a good time to pull that money out of your bank and invest a majority of it in gold and silver, and maybe keep some aside for like what I like to call a war chest. Now, a war chest is a bulk amount of savings for a rainy day. Maybe when you've got something come up with your property, the boiler goes, your car goes, or even just to have that money there as a backup. So I do think you should consider looking into your bank account that you are with right now and seeing their current situation. If they're stable, you probably won't need to worry because banks are insured. But at the end of the day, if all the banks fail, do you really think the people that insure the banks are going to bail them out? No, because they're not going to have the money to do so. So it is something we should be concerned about, and I think we should keep a close eye on it. But if you're already stacking in precious metals and buying gold and silver, I think you're already smart and doing the right thing to try and protect your wealth against inflation and against that economic turmoil that's currently going on in the market with precious metals and banking right now. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know if you think the banking crisis is going to get worse, or you think it's going to stabilise, or you think it's going to get better. So until next time, I'll see you in the very next episode. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you then. Bye bye. To watch another episode on future investments, click the link now.